Hi guys, welcome to our YouTube channel, which is Unpicking with Mishak Mate. So today I just want to quickly talk about the feud between Thabo Mbeki and Jacob Zuma. It feels like Thabo Mbeki never recovered from that 2007 conference in Polokwane when Jacob Zuma won the ANC conference. So ever since then, I've never heard Thabo Mbeki ever say anything good about Jacob Zuma. It seems like he never recovered from that immature removal from power. So that's why even now in that podcast that I was watching between Thabo Mbeki and Mbuyiseni Ndlozi, he never said anything good about Jacob Zuma, although there are certain good things that Jacob Zuma did during his years in government. But it seems like Thabo Mbeki refused to acknowledge those things. I understand, yes, there are a lot of things, there are a lot of bad things that Jacob Zuma did during his administration, but believe you me, there are good things that Jacob Zuma achieved under his administration. So it seems like Thabo Mbeki will never acknowledge such things. That's why even now he still find time to criticize Jacob Zuma, as far as saying that it seems like ANC was coming right up until that 2007 victory for Jacob Zuma. That's when ANC went down. That's when now ANC attracted people who were not ANC members, but people who wore ANC t-shirts and form part of government and form part of ANC structures. So before I say much, please listen to this video.
Foster used too ghastly to contemplate. The change that happened with the ANC leadership in 2007 was real change. It put in place in the leadership of the ANC people who were not ANC, were afraid to tell that truth. You have this ANC led by people who are wearing ANC t-shirts, but they are not ANC. The way it happened was because there was a very, very systematic program on the part of the apartheid regime in its own defense to infiltrate the ANC and the rest of the liberation movement. Very, very heavy infiltration. Yeah. As the ANC, we had all of the machineries. Let's check everybody who's joining and that. That was done. And some people were found and said, no, you can't belong among us. But there are many people who missed out. And some of them became part of the national leadership with the ANC in 2007. I'm talking about agents of the old regime. Were afraid to tell that truth. So this person who's wearing an ANC t-shirt, who's carrying a big ANC title, is not the ANC. There's a person who was infiltrated by the old order into the ANC, but now occupies a senior position in the ANC. And what's their task? The task is to repeat what their handler tells them to repeat. So you and I get surprised. It would be very, very logical, it's obvious, for the current ANC leadership to say, this is how well we did, until somebody else intervened to negate what we're doing. So the population will say, now we understand why things have gone wrong. We've been blaming you all the time. That's you and I think that would be the logical thing to do. But it doesn't happen. How do you explain it? I'm saying the way to explain it is if we lose this fear of telling the truth, to say the people who are not behaving logically, who are not saying, I did a good thing yesterday, and I would have done a good thing today, except that somebody else intervened to sabotage. He doesn't say that, and allows the blame to fall on himself. Or you are responsible for all of these bad things. Instead of saying, no, I'm not. They don't. And the reason they don't is because they belong among the bad people.
Maybe
That's
this
the truth. That's the truth, you see. And I'm saying it's difficult to say it. When we talk about counter-revolution, that, from day one, from 1994, there are people from the old order who said, The ANC thinks it has won a war. It hasn't. In 1994, the ANC has won a battle, but we will win the war. And they intervened to make sure that they win the war. That's where we are today. The negatives that you see, as you say, that you have a certain period, first 15 years of our democracy, very positive. And the next 15 years, the opposite direction. Why? Why the sudden change? It's because the people were saying, the ANC thinks it has won the war, it hasn't. We will win the war. That's the result of that. To put in place your own people and put in place your own programs to make sure that this ANC, which they fought for 100 years, fails. And they are working together with their own people whom they had infiltrated into the ANC, who are now sitting in senior positions in the ANC. And you see it every day. You see it every day. You see, for instance, what's happened to the initiative for a national dialogue. Some people intervened to derail it.
So I'm sure after watching the video of Thabo Mbeki, you can see that Thabo Mbeki never loved Jacob Zuma. That's why even when he was deputy president, Thabo Mbeki still managed to remove Jacob Zuma because he never liked the guy. I don't know if he never loved Jacob Zuma as a human being or he didn't love Jacob Zuma because of what he knew that we didn't know, because we don't know. The likes of Thabo Mbeki knew a lot about things that are behind the scene, things that we don't know, only things that we can only speculate about. So maybe his hate towards Jacob Zuma is warranted. We don't know, because we only see what we see and we only know what they allow us to know. Because when you check, even Jacob Zuma doesn't want to talk much, about his removal. You know very well that. So I always say that Jacob Zuma mustn't be angry for his removal by Cyril Ramaphosa, because he's the one who started this culture of removing ANC presidents in power. Like as soon as you win that conference, immediately they remove you and say, we are removing you because of this and that and that. So it's Jacob Zuma who created this whole thing. So he shouldn't be angry for him being removed by Cyril Ramaphosa when it happened, because he's the one who started this monster, So it is quite clear that Thabo Mbeki doesn't like this guy. So I don't know, because he is yet to talk in depth about his dislike for Jacob Zuma. We don't know if indeed he disliked him as a human being or he disliked him because of things he did. Because now he claims that the likes of Jacob Zuma were strategically placed by apartheid regime to stop the progress of black people by listening to that interview. So we don't know if indeed that is the truth, or Thabo Mbeki is continuing to tell lies about Jacob Zuma. It is for you guys to judge. It is for us to judge. I don't know. Thank you.